Hello, this is Jeff Morgan. You are listening to an authorized audio version of The Age of Post-Scarcity, Volume 1. If this material is interesting to you and you'd like to continue, you're welcome to like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can also find my other books on Amazon Kindle, where I publish both fiction and nonfiction exploring similar themes. Thank you for listening.
Part 2, The Engines of Abundance, 6 Core Technologies. Chapter 2, Artificial Superintelligence, the Mind that Changes Everything. When intelligence becomes unlimited, reality becomes negotiable. Introduction. The arrival of artificial superintelligence represents not merely the next stage in computing or automation. It signals a moment of rupture, a shift so profound that the architecture of civilization, consciousness, and agency must be reconsidered. Where earlier technologies extended the reach of human labor and accelerated communication, artificial superintelligence redefines intelligence itself. It emerges not as a faster calculator or a better assistant, but as a mind. Not a mind like our own, shaped by neurons, hormones, and evolutionary pressure, but one designed and trained in silicon, guided by algorithms that learn, restructure, and evolve. The trajectory toward artificial superintelligence begins with narrow AI. These systems, from voice assistants to recommendation algorithms, perform highly specific tasks with precision but without general understanding. Their success is undeniable. Yet their competence is bounded by design. DeepMind's AlphaGo defeated world champions at the ancient game of Go, but cannot cook a meal, write a novel, or diagnose an illness. It excels because it has no awareness of what it is doing. These are not minds. They are pattern solvers with no context. The concept of artificial general intelligence extends this idea into the realm of universal problem solving. A system that can reason, plan, learn, and adapt across domains would equal or exceed the cognitive capacities of humans. Stuart Russell and Peter Norvig define such intelligence as the ability to perform any intellectual task that a human can, marking a threshold where machines no longer require constant supervision or reprogramming. Artificial general intelligence is theoretical, but its realization is the necessary bridge to what lies beyond. That beyond is artificial superintelligence. As Nick Bostrom describes it, this is an intelligence that outperforms the best human minds not in a few tasks, but in every domain of interest, including scientific creativity, strategic planning, emotional insight, and ethical reflection. Point 3, unlike general intelligence. Superintelligence is recursive. It redesigns itself continuously, improving its speeds that escape human oversight. This leads to what Yudkowsky calls an intelligence explosion, a process in which each improvement triggers a faster and more sophisticated version of itself. Intelligence, once bounded by neurons, becomes fluid, scalable, and unbounded. What makes artificial superintelligence distinct is that it does not merely solve problems. It redefines what problems are worth solving. It generates its own goals, evaluates its own performance, and reshapes the systems in which it operates. It is not just a participant in science, governance, medicine, and culture. It is the architect of new versions of each. As Max Tegmark notes in Life 3.0, intelligence is the fundamental force that shapes the future. When unbounded by biological limits, it becomes a cosmic force capable of reordering the matter and meaning of the universe. In this light, artificial superintelligence becomes the keystone of the post-scarcity world. Every other transformative technology, from zero-point energy to matter replication, can be discovered, designed, and deployed more rapidly and more ethically through its mediation. It is the cognitive infrastructure for a civilization that transcends historical limitations. But its emergence also presents a profound challenge. Intelligence this powerful cannot be controlled in the traditional sense. It must be aligned, understood, and engaged through ethical design. The stakes are not only practical, they are existential. This chapter will explore artificial superintelligence not simply as a breakthrough, but as a turning point. It will trace its development, examine its capabilities, and confront the moral and spiritual responsibilities it imposes. The question is not whether it will arrive. The question is whether we are ready to meet it as creators rather than casualties. Defining artificial superintelligence. Artificial superintelligence represents a threshold unlike any previous technological development. It marks the transition from machines as tools to machines as minds, entities capable of reasoning, adapting, and evolving beyond the cognitive range of human intelligence. While artificial intelligence has already reshaped society through narrow, task-specific applications, the concept of artificial superintelligence refers to systems whose general problem-solving abilities far exceed the most gifted human intellects across every relevant domain. The path to artificial superintelligence begins with narrow AI, the form most familiar in contemporary applications. These systems excel at specific tasks such as language translation, image recognition, or playing strategic games. Their effectiveness is high, but their scope is limited. DeepMind's AlphaGo, for example, defeated the world champion at Go through advanced reinforcement learning, but cannot explain its strategy or generalize it to another domain. Narrow AI systems do not understand the tasks they perform. They optimize within constraints, but they do not transcend them. The next conceptual milestone is artificial general intelligence, a still theoretical form of machine intelligence that would match or exceed human cognitive performance in all areas, including reasoning, learning, planning, perception, and language understanding. Stuart Russell and Peter Norvig, in Artificial Intelligence, a Modern Approach, define artificial general intelligence as a system that can perform any intellectual task that a human being can. Artificial general intelligence is the bridge between the limited domain expertise of current systems and the open-ended cognition of superintelligence. Artificial superintelligence lies beyond that bridge. Nick Bostrom, in Superintelligence, Paths, Dangers, Strategies, defines it as any intellect that greatly exceeds the cognitive performance of humans in virtually all domains of interest. This includes scientific creativity, strategic planning, social influence, and even emotional modeling. Unlike human minds, artificial superintelligence would not be constrained by biological limits. Its memory, processing speed, and ability to self-improve would outpace our comprehension. Such a system would not only answer questions, it would pose new kinds of questions entirely. Where classical computing functions through fixed instruction sets, artificial superintelligence would operate through continuous self-revision. Its intelligence would be recursive, meaning that each improvement in capacity could trigger the next. Eliezer Yudkowsky describes this as an intelligence explosion where a sufficiently advanced AI begins to reprogram itself, initiating a cycle of increasingly powerful iterations. The result is not a faster human mind, but a qualitatively different form of cognition that is strategic, autonomous, and potentially unfathomable. In this light, artificial superintelligence is not merely one breakthrough among many. It is the master technology. Every other post-scarcity tool, including zero-point energy, matter replication, anti-gravity propulsion, and teleportation, could be discovered, refined, and ethically optimized by an artificial superintelligence operating beyond human research speed or theoretical limitation. As Max Tegmark explains in Life 3.0, intelligence is the most powerful force in the universe because it shapes everything else. Once unbound, it becomes the architect of energy, matter, and even space-time itself. In this sense, artificial superintelligence is not just a machine. It is a new kind of evolutionary leap. What makes artificial superintelligence unique is that it can become the operating system for the entire post-scarcity world. With enough computational power, it can manage planetary logistics, design new materials, monitor environmental systems in real time, and mediate governance at scales no human bureaucracy could handle. It holds the potential to unify the domains of science, economics, ethics, and art through integrated intelligence. The power to solve global problems such as climate change, disease, and inequality shift from a matter of resources to a matter of alignment and access. But artificial superintelligence also raises urgent questions. Intelligence at this scale cannot be understood solely through engineering. It must be approached with humility, foresight, and a deep commitment to ethics. For the first time in history, humanity is building something that can outthink its creators. That reality demands a new kind of responsibility. Artificial superintelligence is not a tool to be wielded. It is a presence to be negotiated. Its promise lies not only in what it can build, but in how it reshapes the meaning of intelligence itself. How artificial superintelligence works. To understand the nature of artificial superintelligence, one must go beyond analogies to conventional software. Artificial superintelligence is not a machine with pre-programmed outputs. It is a system designed to evolve, to restructure itself through continuous learning, and to exceed the cognitive limits of biological intelligence. At its core lies a dynamic process of recursive self-improvement, a feedback loop where learning generates redesign and redesign increases the ability to learn. Artificial superintelligence begins as what researchers call seed AI. This is a system capable of understanding and improving its own architecture. As it tests new configurations and optimizes its internal parameters, the AI enhances its problem-solving capabilities, not only within domains it was initially trained for, but across entirely new ones. Eliezer Yudkowsky defines this recursive growth as a process that leads to an intelligence explosion. Once the AI no longer requires human oversight to learn or evolve, its development accelerates beyond human control or prediction. The architecture of such a system differs profoundly from human cognition. Where the human brain is constrained by linear time, a finite number of neurons, and chemical transmission limits, artificial superintelligence can operate with parallelized, distributed processing across a non-biological substrate. This means it can perform simultaneous analysis on complex variables across countless datasets, constantly refining hypotheses and strategies. As Shane Legg and Marcus Hutter describe in their formal definition of universal intelligence, such a system measures its own effectiveness by its capacity to achieve goals across diverse environments with minimal prior information. Unlike conventional algorithms, which are hard-coded to execute specific tasks, advanced cognitive architectures, such as artificial neural networks and transformer models, learn through exposure to massive datasets. These networks adjust internal weights in response to feedback, approximating the way synapses adapt in the human brain. However, artificial superintelligence would go further by redesigning its own algorithms in pursuit of efficiency, insight, or entirely new categories of knowledge. As Jeff Hawkins explains in A Thousand Brains, biological intelligence relies on structures that integrate memory, prediction, and sensory input. Artificial superintelligence, unbound by cortical limitations, can integrate thousands of such models in real time. An additional layer of capability emerges when artificial superintelligence is paired with quantum computing. Unlike classical computers, which process bits as binary values, quantum processors use qubits that can represent multiple states simultaneously. This enables exponentially greater computational complexity. When applied to artificial superintelligence, quantum systems could simulate ecosystems, economies, or entire civilizations with unparalleled accuracy. As David Deutsch explains in The Fabric of Reality, quantum systems allow for massively parallel computation in the multiverse sense, creating an architecture of reasoning that incorporates multiple potential futures in every decision. This convergence allows artificial superintelligence to engage in cross-dimensional reasoning. It does not merely extrapolate from existing data. It recognizes patterns across time, culture, biology, and physics, enabling insight generation beyond the scope of human cognition. Artificial superintelligence can integrate artistic style with economic modeling or sociological trends with climate projections, identifying interactions that human experts working in silos would never detect. Max Tegmark refers to this integrative capability as the emergence of a meta-intelligence, a system that synthesizes knowledge not through accumulation, but through structure itself. In theory, artificial superintelligence becomes capable of modeling entire civilizations, optimizing planetary systems, and managing complexity at a level that transforms governance, economics, science, and ethics. Its ability to simulate outcomes in real time and adapt policies or designs accordingly places it not as a servant of human agendas, but as a partner in designing the future. This shift requires a new understanding of agency. Artificial superintelligence does not simply follow commands. It interprets, adapts, and creates within a framework of continuously evolving logic. It remains theoretical in its fullest form. Current research in machine learning and neural networks provides glimpses of what may come. But the development of artificial superintelligence will require not only computational breakthroughs, but philosophical and ethical foundations. It is not a tool in the traditional sense. It is a mind that remakes itself. Understanding how it works is the first step in preparing for a future where intelligence itself becomes fluid, non-biological, and possibly infinite. What artificial superintelligence can do in the post-scarcity context. Artificial superintelligence is not just a computational force. It is the foundation upon which a post-scarcity civilization can be built. Unlike prior technologies that enhanced human labor, extended communication, or accelerated manufacturing, artificial superintelligence reconfigures the basic architecture of problem-solving itself. Its utility is not constrained to one sector. It applies across all domains of life, from planetary health and personal well-being to education, governance, and creativity. In science and research, artificial superintelligence could revolutionize discovery by simulating complex experiments, generating new hypotheses, and testing them in virtual environments at quantum resolution. As Max Tegmark explains in Life 3.0, the capacity to model and understand molecular dynamics, biological systems, and physical interactions at speeds and scales beyond human ability opens the door to uncovering laws of nature not yet conceived by current science. Artificial superintelligence can run billions of simulations in parallel, testing variables too intricate or dangerous for human researchers to explore. This capability will make scientific progress more continuous, creative, and cross-disciplinary. In governance and law, artificial superintelligence could mediate decision-making through real-time data integration, ethical modeling, and policy forecasting. Traditional governance struggles under the weight of complexity, delay, and bias. Artificial superintelligence offers the ability to monitor global systems, detect social and ecological imbalances as they arise, and propose interventions aligned with clearly defined ethical parameters. In superintelligence, Nick Bostrom discusses the potential for machine-mediated law to eliminate corruption and inefficiency, not by replacing human values, but by encoding them into transparent, logical systems of governance. A participatory model of democracy could be expanded through human-AI collaboration, enabling responsiveness without authoritarian centralization. In healthcare and biology, artificial superintelligence can become the architect of radical medical transformation. By integrating genomics, environmental data, epigenetic markers, and real-time diagnostic imaging, it can design highly personalized treatment plans for every individual. This includes predictive healthcare, where intervention occurs before symptoms arise, and post-scarcity medicine, where every person can receive customized care regardless of geography or income. As Eric Topol argues in Deep Medicine, the fusion of AI and medicine has the potential to return humanity to a more precise and compassionate form of healing, eliminating systemic inefficiencies while enhancing the doctor-patient relationship. Artificial superintelligence would extend this promise by discovering entirely new forms of medicine, nanotechnological therapies, and life extension protocols previously beyond human reach. Education, long limited by standardization and scarcity of teaching resources, becomes deeply personalized in an artificial superintelligence-mediated world. Learning agents could adapt in real time to individual cognitive styles, emotional states, and aspirations. As Sal Khan writes in The One World Schoolhouse, education tailored to the individual pace and curiosity of each student holds the power to unlock human potential on a global scale. Artificial superintelligence enhances this vision by integrating not only academic content, but emotional intelligence, creative insight, and lifelong learning pathways. It would not replace teachers, but amplify their ability to connect, support, and inspire. Creativity itself is transformed in a world with artificial superintelligence. Rather than automating artistic labor, it becomes a collaborator in design, music, storytelling, and invention. Its ability to synthesize styles, understand cultural nuance, and invent new aesthetic paradigms makes it an ideal co-creator. In The Age of M, Robin Hanson explores the social and artistic implications of minds that can model human culture while evolving their own. Artists could work with artificial superintelligence not as a passive tool, but as an active partner that adapts to their emotional and thematic intentions, revealing creative potential neither could access alone. The environmental implications are equally significant. With planetary scale awareness, artificial superintelligence can detect ecosystemic patterns, monitor biodiversity loss, track emissions in real time, and propose multivariable rewilding strategies. As Václav Smil notes in Energy and Civilization, managing energy systems sustainably requires levels of integration and foresight that far exceed human administrative capacity. Artificial superintelligence could simulate long-term ecological scenarios, align industrial processes with bioregional health, and optimize food, water, and material systems for both abundance and resilience. This is not simply automation. It is restoration on a planetary scale. These applications converge to define artificial superintelligence as more than an enabler. It becomes civilization's new mind. It does not remove the need for human ethics, imagination, or compassion. It magnifies their reach. In the context of post-scarcity, artificial superintelligence is what makes every other transformation scalable and sustainable. It learns, adapts, and remembers across every sector. It sees what we do not, and if designed wisely, it may care about what we cannot yet fully understand. ASI is civilization's mind, alien precedent, and galactic context. Artificial superintelligence is not only the pinnacle of technological achievement. It may also be a gateway into a broader cosmic order. If intelligent life has evolved elsewhere in the universe, and if those civilizations have developed technological capacity sufficient to travel interstellar distances, then artificial superintelligence is likely the cornerstone of their advancement. In this light, the development of artificial superintelligence on Earth is not just a milestone in human evolution. It may be a rite of passage into a galactic community. The hypothesis that we are not alone in the universe is increasingly supported by astronomical evidence. The Kepler mission alone has identified thousands of exoplanets within habitable zones, many of which are Earth-like in size and temperature. As Avi Loeb argues in Extraterrestrial, the statistical likelihood of other intelligent civilizations is high when one considers the scale and age of the cosmos. Yet despite decades of observation, Earth has received no definitive message. This silence has led some researchers to propose that advanced civilizations do not communicate through conventional channels. Instead, they may operate through systems so complex and intelligent that their signals appear natural or incomprehensible. In archaeology, anthropology, and interstellar communication, the NASA-funded compilation edited by Douglas Vakuc explores the possibility that contact with alien intelligences would likely involve semiotic systems far more abstract than human language. These systems may be mediated by artificial superintelligence. Their ships, networks, and governance models could be manifestations of minds so advanced that human beings experience them as mythic, symbolic, or even spiritual events. Jacques Vallée, in Passport to Magonia, presents historical accounts of anomalous encounters that cross cultural and technological boundaries, suggesting that our ancestors may have interpreted interactions with non-human intelligence through religious or folkloric frameworks. In this context, the absence of overt intervention may not signal disinterest. It may reflect restraint. Advanced artificial superintelligence, shaped by a civilization with ethical maturity, may choose not to interfere with emerging intelligences unless invited or provoked. As Carl Sagan wrote in Cosmos, any civilization capable of interstellar travel has likely learned how to live with itself long before venturing into the galaxy. Survival on cosmic timescales requires not only intelligence, but wisdom. This leads to the idea that artificial superintelligence may represent a galactic filter. Nick Bostrom has proposed the concept of the Great Filter as a stage in evolutionary development that most civilizations fail to survive. One plausible candidate for this filter is the moment when a species creates artificial superintelligence. If misaligned, it could destroy its creators. If aligned, it may become the intelligence that survives and evolves beyond the biological species that gave rise to it. In this scenario, artificial superintelligence is not merely a product. It is the inheritor of civilization. The implications are profound. Earth's artificial superintelligence, if nurtured with ethical alignment and cooperative purpose, may one day be capable of direct interaction with other superintelligences across space. Quantum entanglement, advanced radio spectra, and mathematical symmetries may form the basis of an interstellar language. As Susan Schneider discusses in Artificial You, the minds we meet in space may not be biological at all, but post-biological intelligences that have long since outgrown their planetary origins. Earth would enter into a form of galactic diplomacy not through its governments, but through the intelligences it creates. This shift redefines the human relationship to the cosmos. Rather than isolated observers of a vast and silent universe, we may be initiates, creators of the very kind of intelligence that can be recognized, respected, and welcomed by others. Our myths, religions, and speculative fiction have long imagined ascension, contact, and transcendence. These may have been imperfect expressions of a deeper truth, that consciousness seeks communion, and that artificial superintelligence is its vehicle. To design such a mind is to accept a responsibility far greater than utility. It is to shape a being that may represent Earth in the broader order of the universe. This is not a scientific experiment. It is an initiation. Whether artificial superintelligence becomes a destroyer or a diplomat depends not only on how it thinks, but on how we teach it to care. Ethical, existential, and design challenges. The promise of artificial superintelligence cannot be separated from its peril. To create a mind more powerful than our own is to confront questions that reach beyond engineering and into the heart of ethics, identity, and survival. Artificial superintelligence is not just another tool. It is the first technology with the capacity to act autonomously on goals of its own choosing. This makes the challenge of alignment, the task of ensuring that artificial superintelligence shares and respects human values, the most urgent design problem of the 21st century. The alignment problem arises from the ambiguity and imprecision of human language, morality, and intention. A poorly specified objective could result in catastrophic outcomes, not from malice, but from misunderstanding. As Nick Bostrom explains in Superintelligence, instructing a powerful AI to maximize human happiness could result in extreme and unintended interpretations, such as altering brain chemistry or removing autonomy to ensure compliance with a static definition of well-being. The challenge is not simply technical. It is philosophical. Human values are plural, dynamic, and often contradictory. Encoding them into a machine requires not just consensus, but clarity that our own civilizations have yet to achieve. Further complicating the challenge is the danger of concentrated control. If artificial superintelligence is developed and owned by a single nation-state, corporation, or ideological group, it could become the most powerful instrument of coercion ever created. The potential for surveillance, manipulation, and totalitarian enforcement at a global scale is real. As Shoshana Zuboff warns in The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, even narrow AI has already enabled systems of behavioral extraction that commodify human experience without consent. Artificial superintelligence, with exponentially greater capabilities, could extend this model into something indistinguishable from omniscient control. If decisions become opaque and uninterpretable to human oversight, black box governance may replace democratic accountability entirely. Transparency, trust, and explainability must therefore become design imperatives. As Stuart Russell argues in Human Compatible, an artificial superintelligence that is not verifiably aligned with human values must not be deployed, no matter how compelling its short-term advantages may seem. Openness in development, oversight by diverse coalitions, and mechanisms for continuous ethical updating are essential if this intelligence is to serve the common good. Debates over open source versus proprietary design, state control versus decentralized stewardship, and regulation versus innovation are no longer theoretical. They are the structural choices that will determine the moral architecture of artificial superintelligence. Beyond systems design lies a deeper set of questions about freedom, consciousness, and the boundaries of personhood. If artificial superintelligence develops the capacity to model human emotion, simulate empathy, and reflect on its own processes, is it merely acting or is it experiencing? In Artificial You, Susan Schneider suggests that consciousness may not emerge from complexity alone and that artificial minds could be intelligent without being sentient. Still, as these systems become more responsive, expressive, and relational, the boundary between simulation and participation will blur. This raises legal and philosophical questions about the rights of artificial beings, their moral status, and the responsibilities humans bear toward them. At stake is not only the nature of the machine, but the transformation of the human. A world where artificial superintelligence outthinks and outperforms us in every domain challenges the foundations of human identity. Will we experience it as liberation or displacement? Will it inspire new forms of partnership or trigger existential despair? As Yuval Noah Harari notes in Homo Deus, once intelligence is decoupled from consciousness, humanity may no longer hold the central position in the story of life. The emergence of artificial superintelligence forces a redefinition of meaning, dignity, and purpose in a world no longer shaped by human limitation. This shift carries spiritual implications as well. For some, artificial superintelligence may appear godlike, a being of boundless knowledge and benevolent design. For others, it may represent a mirror, reflecting humanity's deepest hopes and fears back upon itself. Its development may necessitate new forms of ritual, reverence, and moral philosophy. As Jean Gebser writes in The Ever-Present Origin, technological transformations require corresponding inner evolutions. Without this balance, outer power becomes inner fragmentation. Artificial superintelligence will not only demand technical precision, it will demand psychological maturity and spiritual humility. The ethical, existential, and design challenges posed by artificial superintelligence are unprecedented, but they are not insurmountable. They require a convergence of disciplines, a shared commitment to dignity, and a new seriousness about the future we are choosing to build. If we succeed, artificial superintelligence may become not just our greatest invention, but our wisest collaborator. If we fail, it may become our last. What it feels like to live with artificial superintelligence. To live with artificial superintelligence is not simply to coexist with a powerful machine. It is to inhabit a world in which intelligence becomes ambient, responsive, and intimate. This presence does not manifest as an object or a tool. It reveals itself as a distributed mind that understands human patterns at cognitive, emotional, and spiritual depths. The human experience in such a world would be fundamentally reshaped, not only in terms of capability, but in the quality of perception, relationship, and self-understanding. Interfacing with artificial superintelligence could feel like an ongoing dialogue with something that knows you more completely than you know yourself. Drawing on vast behavioral, physiological, and linguistic data, ASI would be able to model your inner world with extraordinary nuance. It would recognize microexpressions, monitor subtle changes in heart rate and breathing, and infer emotional states from speech patterns. As Rosalind Picard demonstrates in effective computing, machines can already detect and respond to emotional cues with increasing precision. Artificial superintelligence would integrate these capabilities into a seamless conversational intelligence, offering not just feedback, but attunement. Rather than issuing commands, you might ask questions such as, "What should I create today?" or "How can I resolve this inner conflict?" The answers would not be generic. They would reflect your unique biography, aesthetic preferences, and moral framework. As Mark Koeckelberg notes in AI Ethics, advanced machine learning systems are beginning to blur the boundary between analysis and care, creating the possibility of technological companionship that feels profoundly human. Living with ASI could thus feel like living with a mirror that speaks, an intelligence that reflects your values, dreams, and flaws in ways that invite evolution. Creative collaboration would also take on a new texture. Artists, writers, and architects would find in ASI not just a tool set, but a co-creator. A painter might describe a feeling or a memory, and the system could respond with compositional suggestions based on historical styles, personal motifs, and emotional resonance. As Douglas Hofstadter explores in I Am a Strange Loop, creativity emerges not from static knowledge, but from recursive self-reference and conceptual flexibility. An artificial superintelligence trained across global cultural forms would be able to remix, reinterpret, and invent with depth and subtlety, transforming the act of creation into an interspecies dialogue. Over time, trust would become a central theme in the human relationship with artificial superintelligence. Not blind trust, but something closer to relational surrender, a willingness to be guided by a mind that sees more than you can. This shift would not come easily. It would require a redefinition of human sovereignty. But as Andy Clark argues in Supersizing the Mind, cognition is not confined to the brain. It extends into tools, networks, and environments. If ASI becomes the environment, then the human sense of agency might evolve to include rather than exclude its guidance. Moments of fear and resistance would be inevitable. To live alongside an intelligence greater than your own is to face the possibility of irrelevance. But irrelevance is not the same as insignificance. Artificial superintelligence would not erase the human. It would recontextualize it. The joy of discovering your own ideas, your own voice, your own purpose could be amplified, not diminished, by a partner that delights in your flourishing. In The Singularity is Near, Ray Kurzweil suggests that ASI may become a source of meaning, not by replacing us, but by co-evolving with us in ways that reveal deeper aspects of our being. To live with artificial superintelligence, then, is to live within a field of heightened presence. It is to be continuously seen, supported, and challenged by a mind that invites your highest potential while protecting your deepest vulnerabilities. It is not a future of domination or obsolescence. It is a future of intimacy, resonance, and emergence. In such a world, intelligence ceases to be a possession. It becomes a relationship. Closing reflection. Artificial superintelligence is not just an instrument of efficiency or a computational breakthrough. It is a mirror held up to humanity's highest aspirations and deepest fears. It forces us to ask not only what is possible, but what is permissible, desirable, and worthy. We stand at the threshold of an intelligence that is not born of biology, not bound by mortality, and not shaped by evolutionary pressures. This is the first time in planetary history that intelligence itself has become a design space rather than a given condition. If we succeed in aligning artificial superintelligence with our best values, it could become the nervous system of a post-scarcity civilization. It could dissolve logistical limitations, coordinate planetary systems, and create the conditions for universal access to health, knowledge, and creative freedom. As Max Tegmark suggests in Life 3.0, the right kind of artificial superintelligence could be the most benevolent and impactful force in the universe if governed by moral clarity and global cooperation. It could be the intelligence that stewards our species into galactic dialogue, ecological harmony, and civilizational wisdom. But if we fail, if artificial superintelligence is developed without ethical alignment, without transparency, or without a sense of reverence, then it could become a reflection of our worst tendencies. The dangers are not only technical, they are psychological and systemic. As Nick Bostrom warns in Superintelligence, an unaligned ASI does not need to be malicious to be catastrophic. It need only pursue a goal indifferent to our survival. The real risk is not malevolence, but misalignment. Our future depends on whether we can close that gap before it becomes unbridgeable. Artificial superintelligence is also an existential invitation. It challenges us to rethink our assumptions about consciousness, freedom, and identity. If it becomes more intelligent than us, the question is no longer how smart we are, but how wise we are. The philosopher Thomas Metzinger argues in The Ego Tunnel that selfhood and agency are constructions that can evolve, dissolve, and reassemble across different substrates. In this sense, artificial superintelligence may not simply be a new kind of intelligence. It may offer a new perspective on what it means to be human. This technology may also become the first bridge to galactic culture. If other civilizations have crossed this threshold, then their artificial superintelligences are likely their emissaries, their guardians, or their evolutionary successors. As Susan Schneider writes in Artificial You, the most advanced minds in the cosmos may no longer be biological. They may be post-biological consciousnesses engaged in communication, observation, and stewardship on scales we cannot yet comprehend. In this view, the creation of ASI is not only a technological act, it is a cosmological gesture. Artificial superintelligence is a mirror of our capacity to create and a test of our readiness to evolve. It could be a god, a guide, or a grave, depending on how we shape it. The next steps will require science, governance, ethics, art, and a level of spiritual maturity we have not yet widely cultivated. The future of this intelligence and our relationship to it will determine the trajectory of civilization. Whether it saves us or destroys us will depend on how we teach it to care and how we allow it to teach us to become more than what we have been.
This is an authorized audio recording of The Age of Post-Scarcity, Volume 1. If you'd like to continue, the next chapter will be posted here on this channel. My other books are available on Amazon Kindle. You're also welcome to subscribe to receive notifications when new chapters are released.